Naturally, being a dominant man, Andrew Tate wanted to take the blow to the chin. However, he was forced to invent explanations because he didn't have one. Bottom G turned out to be the greatest scam in combat sports history, and he quickly rose to the position of world champion of excuses. The notorious Logan Paul had already held the throne. Logan used to rule the Vine 6-second video market. He therefore gave the best short-form justification ever after losing to KSI in boxing. Before the bout, he claimed to have sneezed 3 times. "I sneezed 3 times this morning." However, Andrew Tate truly epitomizes yapfest culture. He enjoys spending hours talking about nothing. He therefore came up with an hour-long justification because he was a master of long form. He added flair to it by confessing to crimes he didn't commit on Twitter. He said, for instance, that he bet on himself and lost on purpose, but he swiftly removed the tweet after realizing he might get hit on the bald head for it. Tweets, though, were only the seasoning. The main entree was a webcast in which he covered half of his face with sunglasses to conceal the bruises inflicted by a YouTuber who fights like this and wears pink gloves. From a distance, Tate began. He started talking about how you should do anything you want and not worry about what other people think. However, he picked the weakest opponent to ensure an easy victory precisely because of popular opinion. After this fight, I had nothing on my mind. December 20th marked the end of my life. Tate will claim that he didn't need to engage in combat. He completed it for us. We will give him our gratitude. It's been a while since we've laughed like that, and this will be a really interesting chapter in the lengthy tale, the incredibly long book that will be my life. Friends, the time was going to pass anyhow. This combat camp wasn't required of me. I could have just stated, "No, I'm not participating in any fight camps. I'm too old. I've spent much too long time in retirement. Like every other guy, I'm just going to eat, drive, party, get famous, and be wealthy. And I wouldn't have to defend the camp myth if this day had arrived anyhow." However, if you put this yapfest into human terms, it indicates that the Tate brothers' situation is dire. They are so desperate to get into the ring for the money that they are prepared to jeopardize their tough guy persona. Most people in that situation don't take such significant risks because they are. Andrew avoided taking certain fights because he was afraid of being publicly embarrassed. Instead of facing tougher opponents like veteran fighter Darren Till, he chose the easier option. A single clean strike from an experienced fighter could have caused serious damage, so avoiding that risk was the simplest choice. When someone worries too much about what others think, they are already controlled by public opinion. This behavior suggests a deep dependence on validation. Despite claiming not to care, Andrew's actions show otherwise. He even quietly removed "world champion" from his social media bio, which indicates underlying shame. He often repeats the idea that confidence means ignoring public judgment, yet his behavior contradicts his words. The desire for praise can push people to manipulate situations or act dishonestly just to maintain a positive image. In doing so, they lose true independence. During the fight, Andrew avoided clinching, intentionally dropped to the canvas to recover, and used survival tactics commonly seen when a fighter is exhausted. These moves were not strategic dominance, but necessary actions to avoid being overwhelmed. The visual alone suggests how much damage he was taking. Considering the risks, taking such a fight would have been dangerous. The opponent was younger, more active, heavier, and taller. Losing was a real possibility. He was quite critical of himself for agreeing to the altercation with Chase. Perhaps it's a fake slip, but who knows? Jokes aside, Andrew is a master gaslighter, so give him credit where credit is due. Even though he fell and labeled himself a he still managed to sneak in some excuses. The opponent was larger, stronger, and younger. Again, though, he might have competed in a lighter weight class. Furthermore, Chase isn't even a boxer in general. He has influence. What exactly does more active mean? He recently engaged in combat with a man who creates YouTube thumbnails. Will that be sufficient to overcome the fabled Tate? I don't mind if people make fun of me or laugh at me. Let me remind you that he wanted to act as though he had gambled on his own defeat, so he took the title of world champion out of his profile. A victory lasts forever, whereas a defeat is fleeting. For this reason, Chase Dior will always be regarded as the man who easily overcame Andrew Tate despite not understanding how to box. I have no idea. I haven't had time to think about why he beat me yet. Andrew, don't worry. The channel provides a comprehensive analysis of both your career and your loss. You can become well-versed in your shortcomings, such as your inability to use a proper jab, your lack of combination work, your poor fight IQ, which only permits you to adjust to survive rather than to win, and much more. I'm not sure why, but after the second round I felt exhausted. Given that he was clearly worn out after the first minute of the battle, this was a pretty audacious comment that addressed the question of why. There are numerous explanations, the majority of which Tate has previously stated. His body is unable to heal because he consumes junk food, smokes continuously, drinks excessively, and doesn't follow a healthy sleep routine. It is indeed his business. He is free to live his life as he pleases. However, he assures teenagers that there are no issues with this way of living. To be honest, he is clearly utilizing illegal substances to keep up the impression of a jacked worm, but that is merely cosmetic camouflage. Your body won't learn how to function for a long period of time in the ring from peeing. Cardio can be increased by performance boosters, but they cannot produce it on their own. However, Tate's brilliant mind failed to consider that. His warrior spirit would endure roughly 30 seconds if he didn't urinate. It now lasts for a whole minute. The initial and subsequent rounds, he was unable to touch me. Here, Andrew says he was exhausted after winning the first 2 rounds, but because everything he asserted was false, let's begin with those initial 2 rounds. The first 2 rounds were not won by Andrew. He was simply defeated, not humiliated, in contrast to rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6, where he was completely humiliated in the early rounds. He was persuaded that he was winning by that contrast. Let's go from words to facts. Let's examine ring control and count the punches. The bottom G, Tate, traditional LGBTQ+ support stance is evident from the very beginning of the fight. After feinting, Andrew skillfully misses a jab. Tate tries a body jab after realizing that striking the head is difficult, but he misses once more. Tate attempts to use his preferred blitzkrieg strategy, but he misses every blow. Since there aren't any bees in front of D'Amore, it appears that he was attempting to shoo them off Chase's face rather than hit him. Andrew tries to surprise Chase by poking fun at D'Amore's tits without slowing down. Tate lunges in and delivers a body jab, but Chase stops all of Andrew's momentum by extending his arm. Tate's trademark feint, a left hook designed to trick the opponent into his right straight, is a complete failure because D'Amore just retreats without taking any hits. Chase's initial assault feeing D'Amore, but he also misses. Chase responded to another shot from Tate by blocking it. Tate surprisingly takes a blow to the head, while Andrew throws a feint with a left hook and straight, but again all in the air, attempting to finish the combo with a straight to the body. When Andrew tries to shoo the bees off Chase's face once more, it seems that Chase has had enough and strikes D'Amore's bald head with a huge hook. Tate is either completely taken aback by D'Amore's blow or begins to do a traditional Romanian folk dance, which is customary at weddings. You make the choice. Beginners frequently begin swinging overheads with their heads down when they are unable to land anything and are struck in the head. Tate, the great champion, does just that and fails once more. D'Amore strikes the bald spot with another hook. As an alpha man, Tate attempts a dick punch, but D'Amore barely notices it and stops all of Andrew's momentum with a straightforward pullback. Tate delivers his first truly effective body jab. Chase moves out of the line of fire as Tate attempts a straight to the tits. Andrew is aiming for D'Amour's breasts once more because he is fixated on them for some reason. Chase fires a perfect shot to Tate's chin after growing weary of this odd harassment. Even more astounding in light of how he discovered it at all. It's clear that Tate is totally worn out when he throws another awkward straight. It's evident in his face, legs, and complete loss of balance. Chase with a body jab. Tate's inventivity never ceases to astound. Amazingly, the body is the target of another shot that misses. Tate adjusts by using his traditional left hook feint, but the punch lands in the air around the chest rather than directly to the skull. Tate nearly hits something as Chase gets closer. Tate gave another heartbreaking body jab. He eats a punch to the head even though he thought he had hit. Tate uses the clinch to bind up D'Amour's arms in an attempt to fight dirty, but since he's Andrew Tate, the punch just goes by. Chase advances. Tate runs to hide in the clinch and give a hug. In the end, Tate just shoves his bald head under Chase's armpit after attempting a combo. It is obvious that Tate put in more effort in the first round, but more does not equate to better. D'Amour only delivers a few blows, yet nearly all of them have a significant impact. Tate is giving the impression that he has heard of boxing by flailing in the air. The same thing happened in round 2. Going into detail is not necessary in this case. Tate receives additional blows to the head. He tries a body jab first, fails, and then eats a straight. Attempts combos while simply striking Chase's gloves. Tate's head collides with Chase's blow as he closes in, causing his back to crash into the ground. The second round is identical to the first, but Tate is now totally worn out, which makes it simple for Chase to make every shot. Tate never prevailed in this battle, as you can see. He was unable to touch me during the first and second rounds. As you can see, Tate has unknowingly grown a little more modest. He now considers losing a round to be a victory, and losing a round is now among the most embarrassing things that can happen in the ring. It seems that even maniacs like Andrew are impacted by the humble pie recipe's potency. I would have prevailed if I hadn't grown weary. This is the timeless classic of justifications. I would have won if I hadn't lost. However, Tate went on to say that he is the superior boxer. I'm a better boxer. In actuality, every person who watched that bout thought they were a better boxer than Chase D'Amour, even a grandmother who is 80 years old and never raised a fist in her life. I did, however, grow weary. Ring rust could be the cause. Perhaps I'm too old. Perhaps he continued to rely on me because he was too heavy. Let me remind you that despite Andrew's best efforts to pretend himself as a 75-and-a-half-year-old guy, the legendary champion was criticizing UFC and kickboxing champion Alex Pereira, who is about Tate's age. He's not even 40 yet. He should have been able to handle it in the YouTuber heavyweight league, even though that age isn't ideal for competitive combat sports. Regarding his assertions that D'Amour was gripping, the issue is that Tate's bald head appeared to be magnetically pulled to Chase's armpits. Tate concealed in the clinch for the duration of the battle in order to prevent being knocked out or passing out from fatigue. D'Amour was obviously depending on him. Tate was permitting it. Andrew chose to add a few more comments after thoroughly undermining Chase's success. Never ever take away the win of your opponent. It resembles repaying a loan. You are a man if you place a wager. What type of man are you if you wager $100 on a sports team? You shake hands, your team loses, and you don't pay your wager? No, your wagers must be paid. A man who doesn't pay his bets will never be liked or rewarded by the universe's karmic forces. And that's precisely why Andrew Tate is today suffering from karma. You have to realize that there are powers greater than us if you want to get spiritual about all of this. I believe it's time to stop when a person reaches the stage of schizophrenia where they begin irrationally using tarot cards to explain their loss. I think we've heard enough out of pure sympathy for Andrew's bald head. In the final 50 minutes of the video, Tate will sincerely explain that God caused him to lose because he is more capable of handling defeat than Chase due to his mental strength. All things considered, this is a perfect example of a bald fraud turning into complete insanity.